Hey guys, GhazzyTV here with another Path of Exile video. In this one, we're going to continue our process of showing you guys currency making strategies that works for everyone, ranging from a new player to having a low budget character into higher budget builds as well. Obviously, these farming strategies are generic, they're very simple, so a lot of you guys with a lot of experience under the belt, you might want to look into a currency farming guide or strategy that requires a bit more investment, as this one will cater and focus more on the newer player aspect where you're supposed to be able to make currency with this no matter what the outcomes are getting. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Quick word about our sponsors for this video, which is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. Tag into one of the biggest mobile games of all time. There are over 600 champions and continues to grow consistently with new releases for more challenging content to overcome. In addition to its many challenges, Raid also features factions, each with their own lore. One of them is orcs, who have a stigma of being the bad guys, but not in this game. Now in Raid, they are the opposite of bad. They were created by the Dark Lord Siroth and have a good reason not to like humans. After a brutal war fought against the Bannerlords, High Elves, as well as the Sacred Order, their lands were annexed. Now they're just trying to survive. Now, seeing an ally in Queen Alva of the Elves, they've now joined her cause, but even they don't know her true motivations. If you want to find out more, just play the campaign for the full story. Now, the character designs are pretty damn cool, displaying their tribes and personalities. Here's a couple of my favorites on screen. Now, the best part of Raid is how it's consistently evolving, introducing new content like this, and now is the best time to get started in Raid, because if you click my link in the descriptions or scan my QR code here on the screen, you'll get unique bonuses worth about $30. We're talking about a free epic champion of Vergus, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in the game. And these rewards are available for the next 30 days for new players. So the way the strategy works is all about making sure that you're in a position where every single map you run is going to net you an income. This is easily done without requiring any investments thanks to the new Atlas trees that we have available to you. And all of these links with the Atlas tree will be posted in a written guide that's linked in the descriptions below. So do check that out if you prefer to watch this or read this guide in a written version. So basically, we want to set up the actual Atlas tree in a way so that no matter how you run your maps, you will always make money out of it. So without using scarabs, without looking at the way you roll the maps, just out and go, you're making money. And the easiest way to achieve that is actually by taking nodes such as the Twice Tempted to give an extra strong box, making sure that you have something like Shaping the Mountains for extra map drops. Getting Harbinger in here is very important. So a general look on the tree would basically be to look at the Harbingers, in which we're taking every single node. If you look at strong boxes, it's a little bit more limited. We're only taking the middle ones and the bottom ones in the start, but not all of the nodes here. Instead, we're also skipping this entire section here, because mostly we're looking for the extra strong boxes for operatives to drop some scarabs, as well as getting some corrupted and making sure they're all rare to drop some sixlings. Now, this is the generic way for us to make sure that every map we pop will always generate currency for us. The other aspect of this is, in fact, the great node is Shadow Hunger that gives us 50% chance to finding either world's altars. This is the strongest new influence monster nodes that we can find on the tree, and this allows you to consistently get tons and tons and tons of rewards, and this is done through either worlds, which is why most people run this. We are going to, with that in mind, going to pick up the Eater World nodes around Rampant Growth, which increases the pack size, because the bigger the pack size are, the more loot you get, and just pure money. We will also be taking the left side node, the small ones, because the big notable doesn't do anything, but the small ones actually increases the influence pack size of the Eater World's monsters as well. The next part of this is obviously the Delirium and Beyond. Now, these two, we're choosing to run these for this specific strategy because we're running Alva. So I'm going to start with describing Alva. First off, we're getting the nodes up here, which is a perpetual research, which gives you an increased chance of finishing a map that you get an Alva mission. The other incursion nodes that we have is obviously up here. That gives us, again, the chances for us to get a map completion, give you an Alva mission. But the time dilation is very easily one of the strongest nodes for new players, as well as low budget builds, because this allows you to get extra time inside the incursion, which I'll show you in a bit here in this video, but also gives you a 33% chance for all the monsters in the area to be magic, which nets you better income. And the most important notes for this is how we're going to make money out of Alva specifically. We have contested development, which means that if you're killing the resident architect in an area, it adds their upgrade tier to the surviving architect's room, as well as getting the resource reallocation where you're killing a non-resident architect in the area. There's a 40% chance to add its additional upgrade tier to the surviving architect room. This is how you can make a level 1 room into a level 3. I'll explain this all more in depth. So the mechanic of incursions is very simple. It allows you to get 3 different encounters with Alva, which allows you to enter a different realm or a different room or temple room, whatever you want to call it, where you're fighting a bunch of monsters. And the more you kill, the more time you have in there, which is helped through the time dilation. And all of this allows you to get money from, or currency drops from, simply running the extra monsters that you're killing. However, the best way to synergize your Atlas tree with this strategy is to use league mechanics that works well with you killing more monsters. So the runs we're doing with this is to look at Beyond to start with. When it comes to Beyond, we're skipping the Fiendish Opulence and we're taking up the Scent of Blood, where slaying monsters in close together has a 3% chance to attract monsters from Beyond. So this is just to increase rampantly the whole idea of you getting more monsters. Same thing up here with Torn Veil. Beyond monsters, demons, they require 1 fewer portal to summon, so you can get even more monsters spawning consistently. So this is all about increasing the quantity of monsters that you're actually killing. I did miss this one from Incursion. When it comes to the Vol Flesh Merchant, he can be a little bit annoying because sometimes he goes into like an invisibility form. You'll see him briefly and then you can kill him when he pops out again. This guy drops pure currency. I've dropped 3 Exaltus from him. I've dropped 3 Chaos Orbs from him. I've dropped 6 Annulment Orbs from him. You can drop a ton of different currency. He's worth taking when you're doing this strategy, especially if you're doing for lower investment strategies and you actually focus on making sure that you kill this guy. The other node is actually the Artifact of the Vol, which also grants you an additional chance for a mission. But Incursion Architects and areas have a 60% chance to drop an additional rare Incursion item, which is actually rather valuable, especially early in a league. Outside of the Beyond and Alva, we are going to use Delirium. Delirium is a very hard league mechanic for lower budget builds, which is why I'm not taking in the Pathological. This is a great node if your build is of higher budget, which allows you to drop maps that has layers of Delirium, and you can capitalize on this and make even more income running the strategy with this. However, I'll be focusing this guide on lower end in introduction for people and new players to make currency running the strategy. So we're not taking these nodes. Instead, we're taking these 2, or this triangle or whatever you want to call it, and this circle. The focus here is not the fog speed, because on a low budget build, you're most likely not going to clear the entire map with the fog. Instead, we will be looking at the increased chance of spawning a Delirium mirror. The reason for this is because we're not forcing our way into spawning mirrors. Instead, we're making sure that if we get a mirror, which we'll have an increased chance for, that mirror of Delirium will grant us that extra layer of monsters, extra layer of currency, extra layer of rewards. So this is just something that will happen every now and then as you run this strategy to net you more currency per hour. The other notes is that it increases faster distance from the mirror, and the fog dissipates slower, and it also lasts 10 additional seconds before dissipating. The other nodes up here, very specific, increased size, stack size of the simulacrum splinters, which is still worth money. The Delirium encounters more likely to spawn unique bosses. If your build is having troubles with these, take away this node, but I would still keep it, because the bosses, if you're able to kill them, you should try to make sure that you can, because they do drop the unique clusters as well as increased simulacrum splinters. The other one is Compulsive Hoarder, where encounters in areas have 8% chance to generate 3 additional reward types, going for that extra currency or going for that extra scarab, whatever reward you might get. It's just more currency and more wealth dropping from having this. So this is basically the generic setup that we're having. Like I mentioned, for higher budget, I would look into Pathological, but again, we're going to focus on the low budget end. So how the hell do you do this strategy? Well, there's a lot of things to it. First things first. When it comes to Alva, in this case, I have one more map to run, which I'll do here in this video. And I'm going to talk about how to run it before we talk about the actual rooms. So basically what happens in the next 3 incursions, which exist in the next map I will be doing, I'll get one of these random rooms. I cannot spawn a level 3 room, such as a Locust or Corruption. Instead, I'll be able to get any of the other rooms in here. If I get a Passway or Pits, they will show me 2 different rewards, and I'll show you in the map later. And what you're going to do is you're going to go into that with a timer. The more monsters you kill, the longer you're able to stay in there. You're able to drop some stones that will open passageways. For example, passageways here can open up to vaults and open up a passage to Omnitech. However, I already have a connection between the torment cells and passageways, so I can't open that because it's already open. So that's how you open up spaces, because when this is done, you'll then be able to run the actual temple or sell it, which I'll show you how to do as well. So that's the general consensus of how to do it. So when it comes to making profit of this, there's quite a few different ways you can do it. You can either choose to sell the temples, in which case you want to look at the S tier version of rooms, which mainly comes in the form of Locus of Corruption. This is the best selling version at the moment. This allows you to double corrupt the unique item, or a rare item for that matter as well. This allows you to get 2 implicits. It also has, which is a 25% chance. There's a 25% chance that you poof the item, which basically deletes it. There's a 25% item that it turns into a rare influence random corrupted item. And there's a 25% chance that all sockets on the item turns white. This is a really big corruption, a gamble that a lot of people do for big money with a risk of losing their item. And a lot of people are buying these for that sake of gambling, which is why it's a very popular way to farm for generic currency. You can obviously take the risk of gambling it yourself, but in this case, I'm going to focus on actual reliable currency income, so make sure you sell it. Gem Cutter Room is the other one, which is basically the same thing as Locus of Corruption, but this is for gems. This double corrupts gems, allows you to have a 2020 gem turn into a 2123 or 2120 vol version. If you have woke gems that are level 520, they can turn into level 623, for example. You can also lose quality, for example, or not turn it into a vol version. So obviously there's some risks involved when using this as well. A quick note on the Gem Cutters room is that the tier 1 room is called Gem Cutters Workshop. Level 2 is called something Thaumaturgy, and the level 3 room is called Doriani's Institution. So it's very important to keep in mind the differences on the names of these. So that's the general consensus of how to run the Alva. But before we run Alva, we have to decide how to run our maps, and there's a couple of ways you can do that. First off, you decide on the map you want to run. Now, I got super tired of running cemeteries, which can drop the Brother Stash divination card. So instead, I have actually resorted to running port maps. Now, port maps drops another divination card called Saint's Treasure, which gives you exalted cards. They drop way more frequently than Brother Stash, which is why I feel more confident running these. One of these cards are going for a whooping 27, actually 28 chaos a piece right now. So if you drop one of those, they pretty much pay for all the investments I do when I come to the position where I decided to juice the maps up. So with this tree, with a guaranteed Harbinger, guaranteed strong boxes, having the chance of Delirium, and there's always going to be Beyond around, and there's always going to be either worlds around, we now have the grand privilege of just going alking and going on the maps. You don't even have to juice them up with scarabs or anything. You can do this and you will always make currency. However, investing into the maps will net you more currency as long as your build can handle it, so we will be talking about that before. However, we will be mentioning one small detail. When it comes to the completion nodes on this tree, as you can see, I have a full completion and all points spent. New players will most likely not be in this position, which means that for you to make sure that you have your tree sorted for the amount of completion maps that you have, my recommendation would be that you take away this node here, and all of these connecting nodes on the left-hand side. That will save you a lot of heartache. You can also drop the pack size for these if you want to. However, I would start with taking away these two, which is making the Beyond monsters emerge their portals more from a further distance. So taking those 2 points away is very good as well. You can also take away the additional currency shard nodes from here. That's another 2. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 nodes, which brings you down to a very good state of actual completion bonuses when it comes to this farming strategy. Obviously, you can take away more if you feel the need for it. I would strictly keep the Alva ones, and I would just start nibbling on the Beyond instead of taking anything else. Just take away some of the Beyonds, leave the Delirium because it is very profitable when you get a mirror going, and just basically take away the Beyond nodes till you match the amount of points that you have on your tree. Yes, you can do this on lower tier maps. However, the better tier maps, the better rewards from Delirium. So I would recommend trying to get your Void Stones going. And you want to keep this if you don't have a bunch of Alva missions. So moving on away from the tree, the strategy is very simple. You can choose not to run any scarabs and therefore able to just make Alkan go and make money out of this by running this setup. However, we need to make sure Alva is there, right? So the first thing you want to do when you run this strategy is check your Alva missions. If you have 4 or more missions, then you use your missions here. In this case, I have 3 for the red tier maps, which means I don't have enough to do this. So how do you then make sure that Alva is always there? Every map we run, thanks to our tree, is giving us increased chances of spawning Alva missions, which is really good, but we still are sitting on 3 missions. We will then be purchasing a thing called a charged compass. Charged compass with Alva, make sure that you do this with 4 uses remaining. That is why we're speccing into the extra sextants here in the tree, because if we're doing this, you kind of want to run your own sextant on it as well. These are the initial start of juicing, and I will briefly explain it for you. So what you do is you pop up your map, you go to your watchstones. Actually, you bring out a bunch of sextants first. And you go here. I've already prepped this up, and you will use these sextants on 3 of your watchstones, not all 4. 3 of your watchstones will be rolled with your sextants. I have 1 use remaining, and as you can see, I got mysterious barrels, which can drop some currency, extra monsters, and I didn't roll the 4th one with my sextants. When you do this, it is very likely, well, not very likely, but it can happen that you get yourself an Alva. If this happens, well, great, you don't have to buy one, and then you can roll sextant on the 4th void stone as well. However, when you roll this, it is very important that you actually double check if it's worth money. Some of the outcomes we've gotten when we've done this earlier in today's stream, for example, was that we got one that spawned Delirium mirrors. Now, it might be attractive for you to actually start running that, but to make the most money of that, you need to have a great build. So I sold that for 100 chaos by buying a charge compass, which you do through talking to Kirak and going to purchase items and buying the surveyor compass for 1 chaos. And then what you would do is you would go to your map, you'd right click the surveyor's compass and then left click it on the void stone to create an itemized version of that sextant. Now this is not something we'll be using, so I'll put it back on again by right clicking it and left clicking it on the actual void stone. However, another outcome we had was this one. Monsters drop corrupted items. I didn't actually think this was worth anything, but all I did was a quick price check by checking 4 uses remaining, and I can see that, hey, this is actually going for a bunch of sextants, which is really annoying. The way to fix this when you're searching on trade is to make sure that the prices that you're looking at is saying chaos orbs. So I went to the chaos orb equivalent, I clicked chaos orbs, and then I clicked search. And in here, I see that they're going for 50 to 55C. A lot of them for 55. I should probably lower it to 54 to get it sold real quick by simply undercutting the market, and it should sell pretty quickly. So the question is, how do you then search for something like Alva? As you can see here, you'll have to search for these modifiers, which is very easy when it's an item with the PoE trade, woke PoE trade program, for example. But if you're doing this normally, what you would have to do is do this. For example, I'm going to look at this modifier, the additional mysterious barrels. So I would do a search, and I would do this little mark, and I would search for the exact name of this, which it says contain 25 additional clusters. I would just search for 25 additional, I can't even spell. All right, it doesn't even give me the number. So in that case, I do additional cluster. And as you can see here, there's a bunch of these saying enchant, which is the correct modifier we're looking for. Clusters of mysterious barrels. And then I do that search. And as you can see here, I now have these charge compasses, but they say 3 uses. So now that I have the correct one up, I click on the magnifying glass. I take away the original search, and I take on the use remaining. I click 4, and then I search enter. And now I can see that these are selling for 2 chaos. If you get a bunch of these sextants, because a lot of people are making money re-rolling these, which is another strategy, what you would do is you go to... why would it do that? 4. There we go. I would then go down here to the left side, buyout price, and choose the chaos orbs if you want to sell them for chaos. Click search, and you can see these are going for 3 chaos. It's not worth selling, so therefore I would just simply run these and not re-roll them. However, if you see something you're not familiar with, search for it on the trade and make up your mind if you're going to sell it by buying the surveyor compass to make it into an item and then sell it. If not, just run it. And once you've done the 3 sextants and you're ready to go, you will then pop the Alva compass that you have purchased, these Alva temples, Purchases, they go for about 35 chaos last I checked. We can double check that just to show you what the current market is by doing the same thing here. Show chaos orbs, search, and we'll see that they're going for 35C each. So if you didn't get it and you did it with the item and you don't have 4 or more missions, you'll have to invest it, and eventually you're going to have 4 or more missions. That means you can do an entire temple without buying the compass. However, now that we know that our initial investment is going to be 35 chaos plus 3 of these, or maybe more, but 3 with potential profit, that's another 12 chaos. That means for 4 maps, you're actually spending 42 chaos, right? So with 42 chaos invested in 4 maps, that means you need to make at least that money back while running the maps. That is why it's so important that our strategy involves the harbingers, the boxes, to guarantee money back. Harbingers and boxes are extremely lucrative in this league. So what we do when it comes to juicing is that you now, or when it comes to the mapping, is that you decide which map you want to run. I would strongly suggest Cemetery or Port. I like Port myself because I drop those Saints Treasures very often, which basically pays for the entire juicing. So what I do is I run a Port map, and then there's 2 choices. Either you alch and go, you just get modifiers that you're comfortable running, and then you just run that and make sure you have the sextants going. However, if you decide to run with scarabs, I would strongly suggest that you roll the maps with at least 80% quantity. Now, how to do that is very simple. I'm going to take a couple of Port maps and show you that process real quick. So the first things first, what you want to do when you're juicing a map is to make sure that they're chiseled. So make sure that they have 20% quality, and then you alch them. And I can see that this one has over 80% item quantity. I would run that. This one has 92% quantity. I would run that. So let's get a couple more then. So we have a couple more, and I'll show you what happens. So we alch these. It's quite often that you end up on it. Okay, that's a no region map. I can do it, but I don't want to. This one I would re-roll. This one I would re-roll. And re-rolling it, I would just use a scour orb, make them white again, pop another alchemy. They're worthless, these currency orbs right now. I would re-roll that. I would keep that map. I would keep that map, and I would re-roll this one by scouring and then alching, and now I would keep it. So as you can, actually it's no region, so I would re-roll it. I would re-roll that. I would actually re-roll this. And this is the only thing you would do if you're juicing the maps with scarabs. So when it comes to deciding scarabs, the way I've done it is I want to make sure that I guarantee profit from my scarab investments. So the 2 main scarabs I use is Ambush and Harbinger. The reason I use these in the polished version is because these scarabs cost about 5 chaos a piece. These cost about 5 chaos a piece, which means that the initial 42 chaos invested for all maps needs to add another 4 of these, which is another 20. So that's 60 chaos, 80 chaos for all 4 maps by using 4 of these, right? The other scarabs I use, I either don't use scarabs, or I simply use Sacrifice at Dusk or any of these sacrifice fragments, which adds another 5% item quantity to the maps for basically nothing. These are completely useless in terms of pricing. You get 7 of them per chaos orb, so you don't really price them. You can vol orb your maps to make sure that the map boss drops these for you as well. So that's what I would run with. However, you're going to drop a ton of scarabs in many of these maps, which allows you to actually start using them or selling them, because this is a lot of money. For example, I'm going to pop some Gilded Divination scarabs in my version that I'm going to run in the map for you right now. However, I could sell all of those for 118 chaos. That's a stack of 7. So if I'm going to take out 4, that would be a 67 chaos, because they're going for 17C each. But I'm going to run them in this map when I'm showing you this. And we have a polished breach. The reason again for breach is if we get the delirium effect in there, more monsters equals more rewards equals more currency. However, you can run anything like cartography if you're running low on the maps. I actually do that every now and then. If I run low on these port maps, then I smack in these, because I keep dropping them all the time. But I would never buy these. I would only ever invest into Ambush and Harbinger. So now that you know what to do if you're going to invest into the map, or if you're going to not invest into the map, then we've decided how to run this. Now, I've already run this on stream, so we have 1 map remaining. So I'm going to go through the checklist for you one more time. Before you run the map, check if you have 4 or more missions. If you don't have 4 or more missions, then you only sextant 3 of your map void stones. And if you have less than that, then obviously you would only sextant all but 1 of your void stones, because that last void stone needs to have the Alva compass that you would have to purchase. In our case, we have Alva on our sextants. We're not going to use our missions. Now that I've confirmed that, I have to decide, am I going to use scarabs? I've said yes, I'm going to use scarabs. Next process would be to roll the map. Since I am using scarabs, I will then make sure I have more than 80% quantity. This case, it's 86. Next step that I keep making mistakes on is talk to Alva. Click on View Temple. Make sure that she doesn't have a ready temple. Because if she has a ready temple and you pop the map with the Alva on the sextant, it will actually consume that sextant, but not give you the actual mission. So make sure that it's not a ready temple, because it can't pop then. And I can see that I have 3 incursions remaining, so I'm ready to go. Next step would be to go to the map device. Put your scarabs in, pop the map in. Make sure that Eater of Worlds is active. Next step, do you have Alva on the sextant, or are you going to use missions? In this case, we're going to use the sextant, not the mission. Next step is, are you going to juice it up with the map device? In this case, I will, because I am juicing it up with ambush scarabs and everything. I will pop even more boxes through ambush in the map device, which is another 4 chaos. Again, you don't have to. It's just one way of juicing it, which actually low budget builds and new players can do very easily, and you're going to make the money back. Now that I've decided how I'm going to run this, I make sure I've clicked the ambush, I've clicked the Eater Worlds. I know that I'm not going to click this. I will open this map. And now I'm going to show you the process in the map. When it comes to port maps, Delirium Mirror, if it spawns, will either be here in the start or sometimes right in the back. So do a quick check if there is a Delirium Mirror. In this map, it is not, which is going to make it much easier for me to do this video. So the process here is now we're going to make sure that we clear the map. And since there's no Delirium, we're not in a stress or anything. Just make sure you kill everything and basically just look into the best options for you to make the money out of this. You can at the same time obviously interact with whatever league mechanic is in the current league, which right now is actually Arch Nemesis, and just make sure you loot your shit so you don't lose out on money. When it comes to Eater Worlds, it's up to you how you want to run it. I try to aim for the % chance of dropping scarabs, because that's one of the biggest money makers from this. So in here we have Eldritch currency, and the other one has Slain Enemies chance to be duplicated from basic currency. And this is from slain enemies, not from Eldritch minions. Here is Eldritch minions. I will take this because this will affect all of the monsters, which is why Delirium and beyond is so strong. Because if they drop a basic currency item, there will be 10% chance I get twice of that now because of this node. However, I do get a negative impact, so do keep in mind of that. So all monsters that I kill now has a 10% chance of duplicating their actual drops. As you see, I dropped a Saint's Treasure. This card was worth 28 chaos, which basically paid for this entire juicing I did on this map. And we're going to show you the first Alva. In Alva, I got the Pits room, which currently doesn't have a resident architect. This means that whichever architect I get will basically be what I get in this, and there's not going to be any increasements of level, which could be happen on the other ones. So I will then choose between this one, which is a Tempest generator, or I kill this one, which will be a Strongbox chamber. Since Strongboxes is of a higher tier than this, I'll show you a tier list after this map. I will choose the Strongbox chamber, and before I go in, I will also make sure that I know which pathways I want to open in case I drop an orb that allows me to. Now in this area, I can see that I have access to every single room, and I have access to the boss, which is very important. However, I don't have an opening between here and up here. So if this is a room I want to go into, that means I have to go all the way up here and then all the way around. So I'm going to want to open to the left or top left here. And I'm going to kill the right side architect. In the area, whichever architect you kill will make the other architect completely disappear. And they will show up very clearly on the map. And I'll show you that when we go in. So in here, you can see the minimap display here on the left side. There's a boss there, and there's going to be one on the right side. So as soon as I start moving, I suddenly have 8 seconds left. But as I kill monsters, my timer goes up, allowing me to be here for a longer time. Stone of Passage is the item that I need to drop to be able to open a pathway to open up this. And you open up this menu by using the V key, V for victory. That's the league key in Path of Exile. So without wasting time, I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. You can see here on the mini-map and the color being red that this door here is completely locked. But I can verify that I would prefer to open the left side than the top left. So in this case, I will open the left side door. And now that's open. It's not going to update till this map is over, or this incursion is over. Make sure you kill all of the monsters. So you can see here in the bar on the bottom side that what's left on it. And the guy here on my left, that guy, you see how he turns black? That is the invisible version of the Vol Merchant. Make sure you kill him because he can drop currency. And because of the Ritual Altar, he can actually drop twice that currency. When you're done, go out to the portal or wait till the timer's over, and it will kick you out. After Alva, make sure you stand still around her because she will drop some currency around her a little bit, in sequence. Just stay here for a few seconds before you run away. And then you continue the mapping. And this is basically the entire process of running Alva. We're going to pop the breach here again. Like I mentioned before, basic currency is doubled thanks to the ritual altar. So what we're going to do is look into a situation where we're killing as many monsters as possible. And whilst they're killing them, I'm going to show you the next Alva. Now we got Gem Cutter's Room. This is actually really, really good because this is one of the sellable outcomes. In this version, we're in a position where we can actually get a lot of money. If we kill the left side, which is killing the resident architect, which is on the left side, it will change this room into an explosive room. We don't want to do that. We want to upgrade this room. By upgrading this room, we will kill the right-hand architect, and it will tell you that kill this architect to upgrade this room to Department of Thaumaturgy, which is Gem Cutter level 2. However, this node right here gives us a 40% chance to making that room get the other level as well, which means that there's a 40% chance from running this temple that this turns into a level 3, which is what we want because we only have 2 more incursions. So we're going to kill the right-hand side, and we'll see if we get lucky or not. Same process here. The rooms I want to open would be to the left. So just know which rooms you want to open before you go in. So first you want to make sure you don't kill the wrong architect by making sure you go to the correct side. And now that I've killed him, I heard a loot drop. That means I've opened up a passageway here. And we said we're going to open the left side and just clear the entire area. If you see the Vol Merchant, make sure he's dead before you go as well. So in this case, we're opening up that gate. Move it on. Killing the remaining monsters. I can see that everything is dead. I didn't see any merchants. He's probably dead or not here. And then we go out. Now we can talk to Alva and she will tell me if this turned into level 3 or a level 2. And we got a level 2. So sadly, in this temple, I will only have money for the Locust Corruption, but that is plenty. That is the big one. Loot and move. So then you pick up your currency and you move on. And this is the very generic approach of this. Make sure that you pick up all the small loots as well, currencies and whatnot. Many people believe that the wealth of you getting currency is in the form of Exaltus and Chaos Orbs. This is not true. Most of your currency making that you do from farming is actually in the form of literally everything else. Sell everything that you're not planning on using. If you don't want to use the scouting report, you can sell that. That's 1 chaos. Instilling Orb, completely useless, but you still get a little bit out of it. Awaken Sextant. You want to keep some for rolling, but they're worth 4 chaos. If you get an excessive amount of them, sell them. 6 link from the corrupted boxes that we have from this node right there allows us right now to get 2 divine orbs in this, and they give you 7 chaos each. Keep in mind that if you have a mirrored version, don't sell both at the same time because then you'll get a chance orbs back instead. So make sure you sell them one by one to make sure you get divine orbs because of a vendor recipe. Pick up all the loot and move on. Here's the last Alva. Talking to her will tell me that I got engineering department, which I can turn into, get them out of that. Jeweler workshop, or I can get a factory. I think both of them are kind of trash. It doesn't really matter which one I take. I can verify by having all of these rooms are green. So none of the rooms is anything I want to open. So all I have to do is kill one of them and then clear the area and then I'm done. Once she's dead, again, wait a couple seconds, check the loot. Gloves like this is actually worth quite a lot of money early in the league, so make sure you pick those up. They're not worth that much now. I can see that I have a level 3 factor in here. 0 incursions remaining, which means we're going to have to talk to Alva when we're out of this actual map. So now we're just going to finish the map and make sure that we make money out of it, which we already have, but for the sake of, a situation where you don't drop something like the Saint's Treasure, which happens very often in this map, actually. You're still going to be in a position where you want to make money out of it. We got 2 divine orbs from there. We didn't get a Deli orb, or Delirium mirror, so it wasn't that much money. Once you're done with the map, the process to check for your money-making strategy is to talk to Alva and then verify if this is a busted temple or if it's a sellable temple. And I'm going to show you that with a tier list as well. And we'll take a look at that. When it comes to deciding which temple rooms you want to go for, there are 3 main things you want to aim for. The main one would be to go for the actual boss room itself, the very top one. Make sure that you open the rooms so that you have a connection from the entrance all the way up to the boss, because the boss can drop some valuable items such as good roll strings or servitude belts, some certain vials that sells for a lot of money. And what we're doing is we're looking to make the money back and then some for the investment that you're getting from the actual buying of the compass or the usage of your actual missions. Now, the two best sellable rooms is Locus of Corruption, like I described earlier. They go for about 1.4, 1.3 exalteds each. The Dorianis Institute, like I mentioned, with the gem cutters and thaumaturgy rooms, they go for about 100 chaos or 90 chaos each. So they are very easy to sell. They sell very quickly. And then you have other rooms that are very popular but might not be worth as much. And the reason we have this tier list is actually for the purpose of busted temples. A busted or bricked temple is a temple that didn't get any rooms that is worth selling on the market. And the main sellers are the Locus of Corruption and Dorianis Institute. So why would we then focus on other rooms? If you end up with a bricked or busted temple, you are more likely going to run the temple than have any chance in hell to actually sell it. So the purpose of this is to make sure that you have rooms that is then having a high probability of giving you actual profit. Apex of Ascension is one of those S tier rooms, allowing you to sacrifice an item, allowing you to get some league specific uniques, for example. Wealth of the Vaal is another S tier room, which is literally just generic currency. You will literally just get pure currency. You have a chance for exalted orbs, but mostly you'll drop a ton of chaos orbs in there, which will give you some currency back. Other rooms that are really good is things like the hybridization chamber. This allows you to drop weapons with double damage for minions as well as minion damage. If this ends up on a convoking one, the current market, that's 15 exalteds, for example. Obviously the tier or the chance of getting that is rather low. However, again, the reason we're going for these rooms is if you don't have a better option, and it gives you a chance to get a ton of currency if you run a bricked temple. Other rooms is the Temple Nexus. The Temple Nexus allows the adjacent rooms around the Temple Nexus to actually go up a tier, which is really good to help you rank up the levels of Locus of Corruption and Dorianis Institute, for example. Atlas of Worlds is amazing, especially early in the league, as it gets you a ton of extra maps, allowing you to sustain maps better. And then you have Crucible of Flame, dropping fire specific items, Court of Sealed Death, Storm of Corruption, Museum of Artifacts, Glittering Halls, etc, etc, etc. I'm not going to spend this video going through all of them. Instead, I would recommend checking out the written guide link in the description below for more details about this tier list of rooms, and I hope you have use of that guide. We spent a lot of time on it, so make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more content if you enjoy this video. But that is the basic tier list of things that you want to go for when it comes to selling the rooms and how to sell them. Because what you do with a room that you're going to be selling is instead, if you look at the temple that I have done today on the screen in the video, I have a Locus of Corruption level 3, and instead of clicking the open temple, which would open the portals into this room, I will instead click on Take Temple Chronicle. This will itemize my temple and put it into an item on the cursor, and then I can price check this and verify that with just the Locus of Corruption and the boss open, I can currently sell that for 1.2 exalted orbs. And the investment for me was 35 chaos. You also have to remember that the 35 chaos investment is not just gated on how much you make back on the actual temple, because on the 4 maps you get 3 Alva Incursion rooms every single one of those maps. They also generate extra kills for your Delirium, extra currencies and orbs and everything that you get, and also experience when you're doing this specific strategy. Anyways, I don't want to prolong this video. It's already a long one. Hope you had use of this video. Make sure you check out the written guide in the descriptions. Hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and we're gonna have plenty more currency making guides coming out on both YouTube as well as on the written guides on the PoE Vault. Check it out. Leave a comment in the guide as well. I very much appreciate that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So till then, stay safe and keep rocking.